Okay, now few things to note. First thing is this Sunday the time will change. So 8 p.m. PST will become 9:30 a.m. IST. So from Sunday, uh, that is your Monday actually. Okay, so from Monday, Indian Standard Time will be 9:30 a.m. not 8:30 a.m. Okay, so just note this point. And those who are in PST, they will be having the same time, 8 p.m. PST. Only Indian Standard Time will change, and you have to check your country. What is 8 p.m. PST in your country? So this is the one point. Second point is I'll talk about PST first. So Tuesday there will be no class in PST, and Wednesday also there will be no class, and Thursday I will message if class is there or no, because I'm going out of station. So if I am back by Thursday, I will take the class. Otherwise, there will be no class. So I'll message you in the Telegram group if there will be class. So this is about the PST. In IST, Wednesday there will be no class. Thursday there will be no class, and Friday I will message you, because IST is in the morning next day. Okay, so those who live in India, this holds good, and those who live in the US, this 8 p.m. PST hold good, and this part holds good. Okay, so this is the one thing. Now also you need to install the MongoDB, those who have not installed, because soon I will be starting with the par server and some part of the MongoDB. So you need to install the MongoDB, and if you have not installed it, I will show you how can you download and install it. So you have to go to MongoDB, and in the MongoDB you have to go to, let's see, where is that? Let's see. Okay, products, community edition. So this community edition is free. DB community server is free. Remember, you have to download this community server. If you download the enterprise server, it is paid, not free, but community server is free. So to just select your platform, select your package, select your version, and download it. Once it is downloaded, you have to install it. So let's say if I have already installed it, so I may not install it again, but I will show you. So if you install the MongoDB, this will be the start page of installation. You have to select this. Since I already done it, so it's not allowing me to install it. So maybe you will get the option to install it and go next. So just make sure that there will be option, and that option will be Compass. So you have to download the Compass also. Download this also, because some people uncheck this option, so they have to download Compass separately. Otherwise, if you check it, Compass will be downloaded together with the MongoDB. So don't uncheck the Compass. We need this Compass for the MongoDB. So this is the basic things to note. Okay, let's start now to our routing part, which we put in the half yesterday. So if you see, I will explain a little bit more about the routing part. So this routing is something, you put the component here in the parameter called as component. You can also do something like this. For example, I want to do this login as a different way. So I can remove this component part and I will close this routing like this. So I started this routing tag, give the path, and I said the exact, and the login part I will put it as a component in this space, in this routing space. Okay, so we will put the login here, and I can access login like this also. So let's see on the browser. So if I refresh the page, I can go to login and I'm able to log in like previously. So I can do as previous way also, but I can do this way also. There is also one more way that I will show you now, one more way, and that is called the render method. So I have the route path login and I go inside the component. So let me delete this component part, and instead of the component part I will say render. And in the render, this is the arrow function. Okay, this is the arrow function. And in this arrow function, I will get some parameter here. So for example, I will name it as props or matching props. Okay, I will name it as matching props. And here I will see what is the matching props coming as. Okay, so I will see what are the matching props coming as, and then I will return the login component. This is the login component which I want to call. That is this login component I have to. And if I call only this login component, then there will be one problem which I have to face. I will show you what is the problem. Okay, let's see. Just try to understand what I am trying to see. I am going to the login component, and here I will put props. And here I will say console.log props are props. Okay, let's check what is the props coming in the login, and I will also put it in the register. The props, what are the props coming here? But in the routes, I am passing the register as normally we did yesterday. But with login, I use the render part, and render part is arrow function where I return the component. This is the component, I return it. Now let's see what happens here, and here, and here. Here I will say, let's try to understand, no need to remember this part. I'll see register, what is the register prop saying. Okay, let's try to see what are the changes coming here. I'll refresh. So when I refresh, you will see the matching props are coming as history, location, match, and other things are coming here. But in the login props, I'm not getting anything. Okay, let's go to the register component now. In the register props, we are getting same thing like history, location, match. So if you see, when I go to the login, I'm getting the things in the matching props which are similar to the register props. But in the login, I'm not getting anything. It's empty. This object is empty. The reason is that when I use the route, these attributes like history, location, and match are automatically coming from the React Router DOM, and they are inserted in the props as the props for the component. But with the login, I'm not getting it because I'm calling in different way. So all the properties which are the history, location, match, they appear in the matching props part, but not in the login props. They are coming here in the matching props, But when I call login, I'm not getting anything. So to get the props here, that is the same which are the matching props, we need to pass this matching props here. So I'll say dot 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 matching props. So what will happen? All the matching props will go into the login component, and I will be able to see same thing what I see in the register one. Now I refresh the page. I'm in the login page. Now I'm getting matching props also, history, location, match, and I'm also getting in the login props history, location, match. Same thing I'm getting in the register props. So remember one thing. Whenever you try to use the render part, you have to pass this matching props. I give the name matching props. You can give anything. I have to pass this matching props in the component which I want to call it. Otherwise, all this history, match or params, whatever I showed you now, history, location, match, they will not appear in the login component. And now I'll delete this part. So either I can use the component directly or I can use as a render part here. The both are correct and you can use any of them, whatever you prefer it. Let's see now. Now in the register process I'm getting all the information. In the login also I'm getting all the information. Is that clear? This part? Okay, now let's talk about this category ID. Okay, so this category ID, how to access this category ID in the component. So if I go to only categories, I will be able to see this component called as the categories. Let's take this category. So I'm getting this categories. Let's put the props also in the categories one. So here I will put the props and I will see what are the props coming in the categories. So if I go into the props, I'm getting same thing which I was getting in the register or location, and there's a match, and in the match we have the params. So this params is very important when we pass the dynamic variable in the URL. So to use that, if you see, I have created one dynamic URL. I have categories and then I have category ID. Both of this line and this line called the category component. So that means I can, after categories, I can pass some dynamic number which will go into the categories component and I can access that. So let's try to access that. I will pass 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I pass 1, 2, 3, 4, I can see in the match, in the params, I am getting category ID equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. That means whatever URL I put here, I can access it in the params object. So if I want to access this category ID, I can say here constant category ID is equal to props.match.params.category ID. So it will be nothing but what we saw just now. So this is the exact category ID, I will get it. So category ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is here. I can change it whatever I want, then I will get that category ID. So let's create one more kind of combination and see how we can access it. So for example, I can say categories and the category ID and then page, and I'll say page. I want dynamic page ID, that is user is on page 1 or page 2. Okay, so let's remove the category ID. I will only say page ID. Then I will say maybe I can say any other parameter like max number of items per page. and I say dot max ID. So now I want to access the page ID also and the max ID also. So now you tell me when I go to page slash page number is 1 and then max and max, that is 25 records per page. I want to access this 1 number and 25 number. How will I access that 1 number and 25 number? So if I want to construct, you have to tell me how the page should be constructed. Can anyone tell me how can I access the page number? Okay, params.page. So it is props dot match dot. You have to tell me full line. Props dot match dot params dot page ID. Okay, so it is page ID, not page. It is the page ID. And for the max ID, I have to say props dot match dot params dot max ID. And then I can see page ID. Okay, sorry, page and max. So I'm getting page and max both from the URL. I can access it here. So this is how we convert this into this and this one. Okay, so this is all about the routing. There are some complicated things in the routing, like creation of the private route, creation of the layout. That I will not take today because that is the complex topic and I want you to practice little bit this part, and after a few days we will take that part. Okay, once you know this thoroughly, then we'll go through it. Now I will give you few exercise. You have to tell me how you will create the routing path. I will just ask you the questions. Okay, let me ask you the question. So everyone has to write this whole routing part, and they have to define this path also and the component. I will give you what component and what path I want to go. So you have to tell me this whole routing. You have to write it, you have to type it, don't copy paste it. You have to type it so that you remember it. Okay, I have one URL and I want to access it using the /auth. I'm typing it. You will see in the chat. So see, browser back arrow button, we cannot access it using JavaScript. That is a part of the browser. Okay, so you cannot stop the user, from not using it. Back is the default functionality of the web browser, and no matter what, they can click the browser back button. So you cannot use route to manipulate the browser back button. Okay, so let me tell you the one question. I have to go to the auth URL and the component is auth. So just write down. I put it in the chat what is the path I want and what component you have to create this route part, and do it manually. Type it. Don't copy paste it. I'll give you 1 minute. I'll be back in 1 minute by the time you type it. Okay, so import is not needed. I know import, everyone knows how to import it. I just want you to practice the route path. And this will become little complex as we go further. Let me ask you one more. Okay, now let me write down here in the notepad. So here I will write down, you have to answer me. So there will be different one. Okay, let's talk about chat. Okay, I have the chat module. I want to uh, okay, I want to go to the chat page where I can access the chat page like this, and the component is chat. Now this is the first thing I will do in the chat page. Okay, first thing, and I will make this thing little more complex as we go further. So first write down the route for this one. Chat is the path and the chat is the component. I want everyone to write down. If you don't write down, you will not remember. Okay, Rakesh, you don't have closing tag for the route. I need exact thing. Again, closing tag is missing. And looks like you copy pasted it. That's why closing tag is missing. You have to type it. Okay, every time when I ask you, you have to type it. If I ask 100 questions, you have to type 100 questions. Now, the things will become little complicated. Now, I will not tell you what is the path, and I will only tell you the component. You have to construct the path yourself. Okay, so you have to construct the path yourself. Okay, so this is my first page of the chat, and here I will see all the users, user 1, user 2, whom I have chatted before, and here will be the message screen. So when I click the user 1, I will be able to chat with user 1. And when I click user 2, I will be able to chat with the user 2. So messages of all user 2 will appear here. So that is the idea of the first page. So chat page is only this message part will be empty here because I have not chosen the user. So I can see all the users here on the left side, and message will be empty. And I can say choose user to chat with him. Okay, so this I will say. So from the left side, I have to choose a user so that I can chat with him. Okay, so that is the first page. Now, whenever I click the user 1, I should change the URL so that I know I have clicked the user 1. So what will be the route? Chat will be the component which I have to use it. Now you have to construct the URL also and route also. Both things I need. Based on the requirement I give you, that I will click the user 1. Now I can message the user 1. I can talk with user 1 like this. So now I am chatting with user 1. If I click user 1. So if I click the user 2, I am chatting with user 2. Okay, so I want URL also and path also. Okay, so I think chat dot user ID. Okay, Anand gave one. Any other one? I want everybody to write down. Okay, so it's saying users, user ID, chat. Okay, so Anand is saying chat, user ID, and Kate is saying users, user ID, chat. Any other answer? Okay, Sonu Singh is saying user ID. Okay. And he's keeping the chat C small. So remember, the component should always be capital C. Capital letter. First letter should be capital for any component. If you put small letter, then it will not work. Okay. Any other answer, or we have to live with these three options? Okay, so let me comment on these three because I haven't got any other answer. So this is probably the direct intuitive path because user is chatting, and then if he wants to chat with the user one, then he can directly put user ID in the end. So that makes sense because he is chatting and then he is going to the user ID. So I would have done this same way, this way. Okay, but let's talk about other way. So it's saying user ID chat. So this also seems to be correct logically that I am going to the user and I choose user ID this one and I'm chatting with that one. Okay, so this seems to be normal. So you can use this also. But if I put user ID, that doesn't make any sense because this means that I am going to the page where I am seeing the profile of this user ID. So regarding chat, I'm not chatting with the user ID. It is not intuitive in the URL that I want to chat it. Like here, though she has used the same thing, but she has put chat so that I'm chatting with that user. But here, this looks like that I'm looking at the profile of that user ID. So I would not prefer using this one, but these two are okay for me to use it. Okay, let's go to the third one now. Okay, let's go to third one. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, I want to chat with the user like I did it here. Here, I want to chat with the user, but you know, in Facebook we have the one big chat screen. Maybe you go scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. You can see the you can see the past chat of the user. But my chat will have the pagination because when you go scroll up, sometimes your mouse goes here and there, and you have to again scroll all the way up. So that makes usability very bad user experience. So I would prefer pagination. So since pagination is there, I want that I'm chatting. So chat should be in the URL chatting with user 1 or 2, and we have the pagination of the chat. So in the first page, I will chat what we chatted today. Second page, it will go in the back history in the timeline. So if I go to 100 page, I will see the chat of maybe 1 month back. So I want pagination also in the URL. So how will you construct the URL for all these three things? I want to capture the chat also. I want to capture the user information also. I want to capture the pagination also. Now you have to think what things you need to capture the pagination, whether you need the page number or maximum per page, or you need the, you know, in one page we have 10 records. So do you want to start with the one in the first page and 11 in the second page or 21 in the third page? So you have to think how you will construct a pagination. So that way you have to construct these three things should be there. So chat should be there, user information should be there, and pagination. So these two will be dynamically coming. So construct the URL and the component is chat only. Okay, Ashok Kumar is saying chat, then user, then pagination ID. Okay, what is the pagination ID here? Whatever you put, whether it's a 1, 2, 3, or it is 1, 11, 21, what you want to say? Pagination ID means what? A pagination number, that means you're saying 1, 2, 3 like this. Okay, whether it will start with 0, 1, 2, 3, or it will start with 1, 2, 3. What do you prefer? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this, and where is the user ID? You just put the user. If I want to chat with user 1 and user 2, where is that in the routing? Okay, Anand is saying chat, user ID, page ID. Okay, page ID. So what about you, Anand? Page ID means what? 0, 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3? Okay, so okay, when you say page number, this is not dynamic. To make the dynamic, you have to always use the colon. So when you are saying user ID slash page number, that does not have dynamic one. So I cannot change from user 1 to user 2. So to make the user ID dynamic, you have to put colon user ID, colon page number. Like Ram has did, chat user ID, but page, okay, he's saying page ID, max page ID. Okay, but max page ID looks like it's a static thing. Okay, and page ID is also static for the RAM. I need dynamic. If page ID is dynamic, you have to put colon. So you have to put colon max page ID or max page number. If you don't put colon, it's a static value. So if you say only max page number, then you cannot change it to 1 or 2 because this is a static one. To make it dynamic, you have to put colon. Then when you go in the URL, you can say 25 or whatever you want to say. Okay. So user ID, pagination ID. Okay, Ashok Kumar, now it's correct. Okay, but I like max page ID also because I can define how many pages, how many rows per page. Though we can fix hard code our own value. If you want to show 25 records per page, you can put it force value in your code. Or if you want user to change it, then this part is good. You can give the user the option to do that. Okay, let's talk about this URL chat. I will say user ID and then I will say page number, this colon page, or I will say then max items per page. And let's say page here will start with 0 number, 0, 1, 2. Because user don't care. User wants to go 1, 2, 3. User will not really see the URL. So if you're on the first page, you have to make 0. Otherwise, if you keep 1, 2, 3, then you have to minus it. Minus every page should be minus 1. Because for calculation, starting from 1 is a bad idea. You won't be able to achieve your result. So for calculation purpose, we have to start with 0. But if you're starting with 1, 2, 3, then whenever you load your page, you have to minus it with 1. So that internally it should start with a 0. Okay, let's say max user has put 10 items. So in the array, you have, let's say, 100 items. 1, 2, 3, till 100 items, right? Now in the first page, you have to show 10 items, that is 1 to 10. In the second page, you have to start with the with the 11 to 20, or you can say from 0 to 9 index, then 10 to 19 index, like that. Now how will you slice this array? Okay, on the first page you have page equal to 0 and max is 10. Let's say I want to slice it, or I want to slice or splice, whatever I want. So I can use slice, and I can start with 0, and I can go, that is end with 9, right? Like this. So what happened, I don't want to go detail of this part, but you have to think on it. In few days when we will be building our application, then there will be pagination. So you have to think about it, that it should start with 0 and it should maybe end with 9. So we can put 10 because slice does not take the last one. So it is 0 to 10. So you have to think 0 in the first page. You have to use 0 to 10. In the second page, you have to start with 10 to 20, like this. So you have only two. When you're on the second page, you have only one as a page number. So you have to convert it into the 10 and keep this part here and here. So that is what you have to think when you will build the pagination part. So a few days back, I went for one interview and they gave me this exercise only. So they told me to create a pagination and then show the records there. I will show you. So that was the task. In something 30 to 40 minutes, I had to build the whole application with pagination and all. So I had to think also page, I had to think of the max also, and then I also to think how I will be looping through each one. Then I had to use the API call to server. So this what exercise was there. So maybe in your interview also you can get something like this, because pagination is something you have to think a lot to achieve that result. And if you have everything, you know everything, then it will be easy for you to complete the assignment in the interview. So I will show you something. Let me see if I have that one. Yeah. So I did this one. So this was the app.js. So he told me to go to this URL, get the result, and after go to this URL, get the result, and after I get the result, I have to go to each detailed record and get the result of that detailed record and display the pagination also. So this is the pagination I achieved. So initially I kept page as 0, 1, 2, 3, and using the page I have to create the start number, and with the start number I can go to next page, because if you keep the pagination as 0, 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3, you need the starting point. That is, on each page, what will be the starting point, as I explained you here. The starting point is 0 here, here is a 10, and this 0, 10 is based on the maximum number of pages which you want to achieve. So this all things you have to calculate before you really build something like this application. Okay, let me run this application and I'll show you. Let me show you how it looks like. I'll go CDX1. So this one, something, I was giving an interview and they just told me to build this exercise in the React with pagination and with the API fetch. So I fetched it from the API and displayed the result here using the fetch. Fetch is the function to fetch the details from the server. Okay, I will show you, but let me see what question we have. So that's the reason. When you have the array, you cannot start with the 1. You will start with the 0. So generally you will be getting the array like this, and if you start pagination with 1, but the index in the array is 0, so you cannot really start with 1. 1 will be starting with here, so you won't get the proper results if you start pagination with 1, because everything is mostly array. When we have the list of items, it goes as a array kind of thing. Okay, so this one was the call, and then I say next. If I say next see 21, 22, I'm getting 22. So this is 20 per page. I'm getting, if I go previous, I'm getting this. So one API was to fetch the ID of all the record, and then I call different API to access the details of each one. That one was the task kind of thing. Okay. Okay, so that's, we will do this pagination. Don't worry about this. That once we reach the application, we have to do the pagination. We have to do how to call the API and all. We will do soon in few days. So we have completed the sorry, this one. We have completed the routing part. This is the basics of the routing part. There is some advanced routing like private route, layout, routing with layout, which is little bit difficult to understand initially, but if you will practice it, it is easy to do that one. Now, one more announcement I have to do. So in few days, I will be done with the React basics, right? So what things are pending right now for the React? So we have completed use state, we have completed the props in the React, and we have completed the routing part. Now there are few things which we have to do, like use callback, use memo, and then custom hooks, and then we have to do use reducer, and then I have to do also the Redux part for the React. And there are a few more things which I have to complete in the React. Okay, so which will be done in few days, maybe a week, maybe a week. Okay, then that I told you, no, that once we do this small things like API called, I showed you one example of the API that we will do in this only, in one of them. In maybe custom hooks, we will do that, the API call. So we can build a custom hook to call the API server and use that in our. I just now showed you example, that one was using the API only, that we will do similar one. Now, maybe after this basic concept, I will ask you to do the project kind of thing. So then everyone has to share the screen and start doing the project. So let's say student 1, maybe student 1 will share the screen, and everybody will help the student 1 to write the code. I will give you the task. So that task will be done here, and the student will start writing the code, and other students will help him or help her to do the coding stuff. And if you go in the wrong way, I will comment it and I will make the things right. So that ultimate code is right code. So you have to think and write down, but if you go in the wrong track, I will help you to come back to the right track. So let's say I have lot of projects to be done. Okay, though they all will not go to public URL, just we have to do for our own purpose, learning purpose. So student will start writing the code and he will share the screen. Other people will help him. And after few lines of the code or few pages, student 2 will take over. Okay, student 2 will take over the code and he will do it and other will help him. So make sure you all should be ready to write down the code. Okay, once I say student 1 open the code, so she or he has to open the code and immediately start writing. It should not happen. He will install it after I say you have to be ready before I tell you to start the code. Okay, so this is something we will start soon once we are done with some basics, and I feel that let's go for some projects. Then I will not write down the code. You have to write down the code and you have to brainstorm. Once you brainstorm, and if you go the wrong way, then I will help you. Okay, so that is what we will be doing in few days once we are done with this one. Uh, Today everyone should install the MongoDB. I explained you a few minutes back how to have the crack interview. That I will not tell you now in this recording session. Once the recording session is over, I will tell you. Okay. Okay, I will close the recording and then I will tell you. Because if someone is watching, I don't want this to be public. Yeah, so I can tell you after the class is done, I will stop the recording. Okay, so we install the MongoDB. I already installed in my computer. This is the Compass kind of thing. You have to install today. Those who have not done, those who were with me last year, they might have already MongoDB in their in their machine. So no need to install it again. So we will be installing Parse server soon, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Parse server we will install it. Because Parse server is something which we will use in most of our projects. Whenever we have to save the data, we will use Parse server. Actually, Parse server internally uses MongoDB. So I will explain few concepts of the MongoDB so that you know how MongoDB saves the data. Parse server internally uses MongoDB to save the data. So you should have the knowledge of MongoDB before you use really the Parse server. Though we will do a thorough detailed study of MongoDB soon, but for the start, I want to start with the Parse server because it has many utilities for you. It will help us to build our website very quickly. Okay, and if you have any ideas of any project you want to build, you can just email me or share in the React Telegram group. And if I like that your idea, I will build that together with you. That means you will build, student one will build, but I will help you in building that one. Okay, so if you have idea, like I told you, real estate is my idea. I will be building that. Right now, I don't see any good real estate website. In US, we have good website, but in India, they don't have very good website for the real estate. I don't see many properties are there. And the site is also very bad. If I ask for the square feet in the 99 acres, I went to 99 acres. I saw one property. They are saying that property is of 10,000 square feet. Okay. And when I go into detail, they are giving only 150 square feet. So there is a lot of bad data because they think that this whole apartment is 10,000 square feet. They put 10,000 as a square feet for the sale. But when they are selling it, they are selling only this much. So if they are selling this much, you should not put 10,000 square feet. So they have many mismatched data in the 99 acres. See, you can go to the YouTube and type the React.js projects. There are hundreds of projects are there. Okay, let's check it, how many are there. So you can follow them. Let's see how many are there. Okay, so let's go to React.js projects. So you can see this is the 15 projects. A lot of there are there. So you can, you can go through them, see React.js real world projects, React.js project. A lot of them are there. You can go, if you have time, just go do it in your free time. Go on doing it. See, 23 projects is there here. Ideas. This is ideas. Okay, this ideas look good. We can copy the ideas. Okay, so you can go through it, build recipe app. Let's see if I see good ideas. To do app, e-commerce app. A lot of them are there. And you know, every author has its own way of doing it. So don't expect that whatever way I teach, in the same way you will get each project. So everyone has its own mind. They build their own way. And I have my own idea. I build it my way. Okay. Okay, let me